A dusty path wound its way through an ancient forest, its canopy so dense that sunlight could barely pierce the leaves. Along this road walked Ananda, a destitute man in threadbare clothes. With hunched shoulders and eyes fixed on the dirt, he moved silently, as if apologizing to the world for his very existence. Years of crippling poverty had robbed him of his smile. He avoided the gaze of others, terrified of finding either pity or disgust. To Ananda, every day was merely an exhausting repetition of hunger and humiliation. As the late afternoon sun began to paint the sky in shades of gold, Ananda spotted a figure resting beneath a towering banyan tree. It was a man clad in simple saffron robes, his face radiating a profound, unshakable peace. It was the Buddha. Ananda's heart began to race. He had heard of the great teacher who held the answers to life's deepest mysteries. Though hesitant to disturb him, Ananda found himself drawn forward when the Buddha looked up, offering a gaze devoid of judgment and full of gentle attention. Trembling, the poor man sank to his knees. The question that had tormented him for years finally burst forth in a cry of despair. "Buddha, why am I so terribly poor?" The Buddha smiled, not with mockery, but with deep understanding. He paused, weighing his words, and replied softly, "Because you do not practice generosity." Ananda recoiled in shock. He had expected to hear about the karma of past lives or the cruelty of fate. Generosity? How could he, a beggar who survived on the scraps of others, practice generosity without money, food, or shelter? He felt a surge of bitter indignation. Seeing the man's anger, the Buddha's expression remained serene. "You possess 5 treasures with which you can practice generosity right this very moment," the Buddha explained, "yet you choose to withhold them. First, your face. You can give smiles to others, but instead, you walk through life as if the world is your enemy. A simple smile costs absolutely nothing, yet it can warm a heavy heart on the coldest of days. Second, your eyes. You can look upon others with love and care. Instead, you cast your eyes downward and hide from people. A kind gaze can support a person far more than words ever could. Third, your mouth. You can speak words of comfort, praise, and encouragement. Yet, you choose to remain silent or complain. A kind word is free to give, but it is entirely priceless. Fourth, your heart. You can genuinely wish happiness for others. But your heart is heavy with envy and bitterness. You look at the wealthy and seethe with anger. Wishing others well is the purest, simplest form of generosity. Fifth, your body. You can use your physical strength to help those around you, carry a heavy load, lend a hand to someone who has fallen, or sweep a path. Instead, consumed only by your own survival, you walk past the needs of others. Tears began to stream down Ananda's face, but they were no longer tears of resentment. They were tears of profound awakening. He realized he had locked himself in a prison of his own mind, believing that because his pockets were empty, his spirit had to be bankrupt as well. Generosity wasn't about currency, it was a state of the soul. "I have been wealthy all along," Ananda whispered, "and I never even knew it." The Buddha nodded slowly. Wealth does not begin in the pocket, but in the heart. A person who freely gives smiles, warm words, and a helping hand is richer than any king. Goodness creates goodness, and it always returns. The following morning, Ananda woke up on his mat in a stranger's barn. For the first time in years, he looked into a cracked mirror and offered the world his first gift, a genuine smile. That day, he helped an elderly woman draw water from a well. He praised a child drawing in the dirt. He offered a merchant a warm wish for a successful day. And slowly, a miracle unfolded. The merchant, touched by the kind words, handed him an apple. The woman invited him to share a meal. The child handed him a wildflower. Within a month, Ananda's newfound spirit earned him a job in a local workshop. A year later, he had a roof over his head, money in his pocket, and the deep respect of his community. He was no longer a man waiting for handouts from the universe. He was a man who gave. He finally understood the Buddha's parting wisdom: you are only as rich as you allow yourself to be. True wealth is built in the soul, and no amount of worldly poverty can ever take it away.